What is up, my fellow gamers? In today's video we got our best build for sword and shield. Like and subscribe for more amazing gaming content. So we're gonna go over some of the different pieces of gear that you can equip. There's one main set that we're gonna go over, and that's gonna be the offensive guard set. And pretty much that's like the whole idea is using the shield to kind of block, so that way you do extra damage from getting those perfect blocks off. There's also like a dodge build as well, where it focuses more on dodging, but I believe you need some of the higher tier armor, which I just do not have unlocked yet. Like, I don't have all of the gear unlocked just yet. I think you have to be at like chapter 11 or 12. I'm currently on chapter 8. So for sword and shield, you're just pretty much going to use any sword and shield. It's going to depend on what monster you're going up against. A monster's weak against water, you're going to use water type elements. You're going to just switch between the different swords and shields. Now, the leather set is actually like a decent set that you can pretty much use for almost any weapon. Like, the leather set has really good equipment skills. You got like critical eye and stuff. Attack boost. So if you are a new player and you don't have some of these other sets that I have that you see or that I mentioned, just having a basic leather set is honestly a pretty good early game. So for our headpiece, we're gonna go ahead and you'll see that most of it has to do with the bear off set. I mean, pretty much almost everything is that, minus the, what is it, the pants or the trousers, whatever you want to call it. So for our helmet, we have the bear off helmet. This is going to give us defensive boost. So you'll see that it's just going to blanketly increase our defense, which is very important because you want to have high defense when you're using the sword and shield, because our whole idea is we're going to be using that shield to constantly block the incoming attacks from the monsters, and having a higher defense means we're going to take less damage. Now, the downside to this build is the fact that you're going to always take damage regardless, right? It's not like you're dodging it, so you're not gonna like completely miss all the damage. Using the shield, you're always gonna take some amount of damage, and unfortunately you are going to eventually have to use potions because your health is just gonna naturally run out. And then once we get this to grade 4, we'll get that offensive guard. Now, this is what is so important for this build, is we want to have lots of offensive guards, and we want to have it as the highest level as possible. So what this does is it increases our attack power by a percentage, which is very important, because by a percentage means that as our weapons scale and get stronger, this 10% is just going to naturally get stronger as well, as opposed to just like a blanket number that would just increase our attack power by like 10 or 20. It's not going to scale with our weapons as our weapons get stronger and those attack values increase. It's going to last for 10 seconds, and it's only after executing a well-timed guard. As we level this up, it'll increase the attack power by a higher percentage. At level 5, 40% extra, which is absolutely insane. That is a ton of extra attack power. Now, this is a bit more difficult because well-timed guards, I would say, maybe they're like the same as kind of doing a dodge, but for me personally, I feel like trying to do a well-timed guard is kind of a little bit more difficult than just like getting a perfect dodge. You have to kind of time it out precisely so that right before the monster attacks, you then go ahead and activate your shield to kind of do the block animation. If you do it too early, nothing bad happens. You'll block the attack, you'll still take a little damage, but you won't get that well-timed guard. Now, the way to know if you execute a well-timed guard is you'll actually see a bubble come around your character, and then you'll see the little icon pop up in the left corner, and that's how you know that you triggered this. And now for the next 10 seconds, you'll have that increased attack power. It's a bit tough to get used to at the beginning, but once you kind of practice it, you'll get a lot better at getting those well-timed guards off. So then the next one we have is our bear off the mail. This is like our chest piece, and this is just giving us offensive guard. For our hand pieces, we then have equipment skill. This is just guard. It's going to reduce our damage and knockback when we're guarding against monsters. So when we're using our shield to try and block, it just helps us not get knocked back and stuff. So you'll see it's pretty much an easy trend to follow. Everything has to do with blocking in some instance. For our bear off, this is like our belt part. We have equipment skills, defensive boost, Increasing our defense means when we block, we'll take less damage. And then guard, again, very slightly reduces the damage and knockback when guarding. And then for our pants, we actually went with a different set, because if we look at the Barrow set, the pants actually have something that doesn't really help us. And that is the recoil down, which means it slightly reduces the bow gun recoil. Now this doesn't really help us because we're using sword and shield, we're not using the bow gun. So what I went ahead and I put is the Kulu set, and we have the pants right here, which gives us a critical eye, and the critical eye is just going to increase our affinity by a percentage, which just increases our critical hit chance. Now it is fairly low, which kind of sucks, and with sword and shield it's not like super duper ideal. There's other ones that you can kind of cycle in, like stuff like this, where it's going to increase our water attack. So if you're going up against a monster who's weak against water, you're using a water weapon, I mean, that's kind of versatile. You could just throw those on instead. Even the leather set is pretty decent, where you're getting poison resistance and paralysis resistance. This would be like my second best bet that I would mention, because even though we're like blocking the monster's attacks, you can still get poisoned, right? You can still have a chance to get poisoned and take damage over time. And same thing with like the paralysis, just having a chance to negate it so that your character doesn't enter that paralysis state where you just become basically immobilized and can't do anything. I mean, that sucks, because that's not only taking a lot of time off the clock of you just not being able to do anything, but it also opens you up to taking more additional attacks from the monsters. But even this basic leather set right here, these leather trousers are really good to throw on as well. As far as two honorable mentions, if we go down to the gloves part right here, the umlunguPhambene braces. I'm bad with names, I don't know how to say these names, but this one right here, this one you do have to get like a little bit deeper into the chapter missions before you unlock this gear. But this is one that I really like as well. We get concentration, which just increases our special gauge fill rate. You want to fill up your special gauge as fast as possible. And then the divine blessing, this is one of the best equipment skills that you can get. This is one that you can use for any piece of gear, does not matter. You have a 30% chance of reducing the damage from a monster's attack by 50%, and as you go ahead and level it up, it just increases the chance. I mean, that reduces a tremendous amount of damage. That's a lot. 50%. I mean, hey, you really can't go wrong with that, no matter what weapon you're using. And then the other one would be like the belt, the coil. This also, again, just has divine blessing. So those two really good honorable mentions. You can use those for almost any set extremely well. That is it for my best build for the sword and shield. Stay happy, stay safe, and I will see y'all later. Peace. Happy hunting.